5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Pray that you guys had a really good day, morning.
Yes. Well, they haven't had a day yet because they're watching this in the morning, most likely.
Well, yesterday.
Oh.
And then I'll wish you guys a blessed day for today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So today is, for us, Thursday, so it's Friday for you guys, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Friday, and, we, as far as us in California, our governor went on TV and basically said, I forgot what he called it.
It's a house stay.
Is it?
House stay order.
Yeah, for the entire state of California.
Like a lockdown.
Yeah, it's a lockdown, but there's certain words that people freak out about, so he has to make it politically correct.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Either way, I mean, the entire state of California, and the reason being is out of the 3 states from so far, I think Washington is number 1, hardest hit. New York is the second. California is number 3. And the epicenter of California is literally right here. Mm-hmm. So, they're like you said,
taking drastic measures.
Well, I like what he said. He goes, I don't want to not do nothing and then later on have the what ifs.
Yeah.
We should have did this. We should have did that. We should have. He said the shoulda.
And I think yeah. a lot of things right now that are taking place, people just have to take precautions regardless of anything. Mm-hmm. I had told you guys that I had not been feeling good, and my boss sent me home. But it's taking precautionary measures. And I called the doctor today, and he says, you know what, it doesn't matter. Even if you just have regular flu symptoms, stay home. He's all like, just stay home. I want you to stay home the 14 days as you would for anything, mm-hmm. because we need to not only, even if you have a flu or a cold, you don't want to give that to somebody who has a really low immune system and all of that. He said, so I'm going to ask you to please stay home. If anything changes, you need to call me you need to call me right away.
Yeah.
And I loved it because I wanted to see what the protocol was too, What is it that they're doing? And I finally was able to kind of see what the protocol was. So if none of you guys really have yet spoken to your doctors or even know what to do about any of this, the protocol, and I went to the CDC and I'm like, okay, what do I do? I called my doctor's office, and what they do is they ask you what symptoms you have. And they will actually write down the symptoms that you have. Mm-hmm. They get that over to the doctor. The doctor at that point is able to review your records to see, if you're high risk or what, and all of that. They call you back before the end of the day and they tell you, listen, either the doctor, this is the instructions the doctor has for you. And so like with me, I was instructed that I need to keep an eye out for a fever and keep an eye out for any, of course, any hard breathing and stuff. So, I was like, okay, with that said, if I have a throat infection or anything, he says, if it gets worse, just to call him and he'll prescribe something. Mm-hmm. So that's the protocol that they're doing. And it is working because they did get back to me and he told me that.
Yeah. So another thing is that, another thing you can do is, that I learned today was, of course, the whole social, what do they call it? Distance, or what do they call it?
Social distancing.
Yeah, that makes sense. But another thing you can do, I don't know about your state where you're at, but as far as the state of California, they had some statistics and whatnot. Anyways, if you can go and watch that yourself. But there's something you can do right now, because what's happening is everybody that gets this doesn't mean, like you're going to be in a hospital and all this and that. So what you can do is take vitamins. You take a vitamin C in the morning and one at night. Take a multivitamin, a
zinc,
D,
vitamin D,
and a zinc.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do that every day. And what it does is strengthens your immune system, which if you happen to get in the area of that virus, it's least likely to affect you. And most importantly, you're least likely to carry it to somebody else. So that's a good thing that you can do now is take vitamins so you bolster up your immune system. And at the very least, because there's a bunch of stuff you can do.
What do you tell the person who's like, well, I got Jesus, I don't need any of that and this and this and that, for that mindset? What do you tell somebody who
I'm glad you're asking that
because it's so important.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of that, and a lot of people like, I don't know why they're closing this down. I don't know why they're doing this, and I'm asking you because I know that you'd probably give a good understanding answer.
She's asking this. We didn't pre-plan this, but actually I was going to talk about this because I told her, because she wanted to talk about a verse, and I said, okay, we'll talk about that, but I have a verse I wanted to talk about too. So we'll just dive right into this.
So are we aligned to?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
So
okay.
This is what I'd want to say to that. And I'm going to go through a little bit of history real quick. And you guys maybe know this or maybe don't know why, but in the Old Testament, when God gave Moses the laws of Moses, he gave a bunch of laws, not only the 10 Commandments, a bunch of laws to the Hebrews. And some of them were very specific. For instance, it says, do not touch a dead body. Do not touch. It says if you see a dead animal, this and that, do not touch, do not do this. A bunch of rules and like things that you would think like, well, that makes sense. But you got to understand, this was at a time in the Old Testament where nobody knew about germs. Nobody knew about viruses. Nobody knew about any of that stuff. And God gave these specific laws to the Hebrew people because he says, as long as you obey these laws, you will have a long life. So a lot of times people have said, man, those Jewish people had a bunch of laws. Do you not understand that? Obviously, if God made us, he understood what keeps our bodies healthy and what doesn't. Okay? So he gave them laws to stay away from, he told them wash your hands, he told them bathe your bodies, he told them all this stuff. Do you know why? Because of viruses and sickness and diseases. That is why God gave them very strict on just hygiene. The
basic hygiene, basic stuff in life.
Yeah. And there's a lot of it, but I just wanted to read a little bit of something in Deuteronomy 23. Let's start at 9. Okay, and this is just a little bit of what I'm talking about, just to show you so you can see that I'm not making this up. Deuteronomy 23, starting at verse 9.
Okay, hold on. Deuteronomy 23, verse 9.
And it says this. It says, when the army goes out against your enemies, then keep yourself from every wicked thing. You got it? Mm-hmm. It says, if there is any man among you who becomes unclean by some occurrence in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. He shall not come inside the camp. Is yours split up there, 9 and 10?
It's got 9 through 11.
Okay, I'm going to read 11. It says, but it shall be when evening comes that he shall wash with water, and when the sun sets, he may come into the camp. Okay.
In the Message, it says, when you are camped out at war with your enemies, be careful to keep yourself from anything ritually defiling. If one of your men has become ritually unclean because of a nocturnal emission, he must go outside the camp and stay there until evening when he can wash himself, returning the camp at sunset.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
This is in the Bible, thousands of years ago. Okay. Verse 12. Also, you shall have a place outside the camp where you may go out. Basically what it's saying is if you got to go to the restroom, don't do it where the people are at. Go outside of the camp. Okay, so now 13. And you shall have an implement among your equipment. And when you sit down outside, you shall dig with it and turn and cover your refuse. Is 12 and 13 separate?
Yeah, it's good right here.
Okay.
Mark out an area outside the camp where you can go to relieve yourselves. Along with your weapons, have a stick with you. After you relieve yourself, dig a hole with a stick and cover your excrement.
Yeah. Verse 14. For the Lord your God walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and give your enemies over to you. Therefore, your camp shall be holy, that he may see no unclean thing among you and turn away from you.
All right, was that
14?
Okay. And it says, after God your God strolls through your camp. He's present to deliver you and give you victory over your enemies. Keep your camp holy. Don't permit anything indecent or offensive in God's eyes.
Okay. This is just a little bit of the Old Testament of the laws that God continually said, don't eat that, don't eat this, wash yourself like this, do this, do that.
He was giving real good instructions.
Yeah,
detailed.
he wasn't doing it to control them. He was doing it because he loved them, because he knew it was best for them. He had to literally tell them, listen, when you go number 2, cover that up with dirt.
Yeah.
Because that bacteria is going to make you sick. And I don't want you sick. I want you healthy. So for anybody to say, and I'm coming back to what you said. So if anybody is saying, why do I got to listen to this? Why do I got to do it? I ain't going to wash my hands. First of all, you should be washing your hands in the first place anyways, before this happened.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like the Bible says, doesn't the Bible say that God is the same yesterday,
today, and forevermore?
Today and forever.
Yeah.
So if that was important back then,
What makes you
think it's not important now?
Absolutely.
You know, so if
especially now that the world is
population
the population is immense now, you know?
Exactly, you know, and it's like he would restrict them from eating certain animals. You know why? All of these viruses come from animals.
Yeah.
And most likely animals nobody should even be eating in the first place. But God was like very strict on the animals to eat. I mean, he was very strict in this stuff because he loved them so much. He wanted them to have good health. So if we go around now saying, you know, well, I don't got to do this, I don't got to do that, what are you really saying? Because if God implemented those back then for those people, and don't get me wrong, I am not saying that we got to go back to the law and go back. I'm trying to get to the heart of what it is God was saying. Don't take me wrong and be like, oh, you're saying that we got to, you know, obey the laws of Moses, or, you know, are you saying that, you know, don't get all theological on me. You know the heart of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's the fact that God cared so much that he gave those rules and regulations because he knew better. Because God knows more.
Yeah.
So the same thing now.
Well, of course he knows more. He created the more. He created all.
So don't become defiant.
Yeah.
Don't become defiant. You know, during that time, there was diseases that would hit the nations around them. And you know what? The people of Israel wouldn't get hit with the diseases. You know why? Because God implemented these ways for the bacteria not to reach them, while the nations around them were getting sick. You know, so a matter of fact, as Christians, we should be the ones doing this more than the rest of the world.
Being an example.
Yes, we should be that example that we set, because God established this from the very beginning of cleanness, of hygiene.
But I also believe that people have a thing saying, well, am I going to have less faith or less this by, you know.
Well, can you imagine Moses saying, you know what, God? Yeah, I'm going to have more faith. I'm just going to eat the stuff you told me not to eat. I'm going to go to the bathroom right inside of my tent because I have faith. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Would that not be defiance?
Yeah. And that's another thing that I'm seeing.
And
that people are like, you know, oh, well, I have Jesus and I have this, but why do I have to do that? You know, and
a lot of times there are people that don't even know the Bible.
Yeah.
They don't even know the Bible, you know. You know what was you know why Jesus was so offended at the Pharisees when the woman came to wash his feet? Remember, she was crying and weeping?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why Jesus was offended that they were talking trash. Because she's crying and washed his feet with her tears and began drying them with her hair. And they started saying, oh, if he was a real prophet, he'd know what kind of woman this is. Mm-hmm. And he says, you know, I came in here, you didn't even wash my feet. Mm-hmm. Why was that important? In the Jewish custom, anytime somebody came into your home, your servant was supposed to wash the person's feet because there was no paved streets out there. It was dusty, it was dirty, and they wouldn't sit on a table to eat. They actually kind of sat on the floor so their dirty feet were close to the food.
Yeah, yeah.
So they disrespected Jesus because they didn't even honor him by having their servant wash his feet. You know, why was that important? Because of hygiene.
Yeah.
You know, because of hygiene. So that's why Jesus says, I came and you didn't even wash my feet, yet this woman washes my feet with her tears.
With her tears.
So that was a form of hygiene, and it's like Jesus was a Jewish man. Mm-hmm. He followed the law to the T, and those guys didn't follow it because they were supposed to wash his feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a great disrespect to have him over for dinner. He's sitting there eating and his feet are all dirty. It's
just important that we just have the right mindset and the right heart, because it all comes together.
Yeah.
What we have in our heart, our mind, it all comes together, and we just have to have that right mindset and not be closed to the things that the Lord is really trying to show us,
Yeah. I mean, and the Bible is filled with it, and so many people, again, because they don't fully understand, they're like, well, that's Old Testament. I'm not living in Old Testament. Dude, I know we're not living. Yeah. Trust me. I teach identity. Trust me. Mm-hmm. I know we don't live in the Old Testament, but don't you dare throw the Old Testament away, because it's full of wisdom.
Yeah. Some people get just stuck there at times.
Here's the thing is that if you want to understand the character of God, you're going to get it by reading the Old Testament.
Absolutely.
You're going to get his character. You're going to get what he cares for, what he has a passion for, what he looks after, what pleases him, what doesn't please him. Mm-hmm. You want to know God, you can't do it without the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Do I say we live in? No, because Jesus came and fulfilled it. But tell me this, okay? Because if you're of that camp to say, well, I don't have to listen to the Old Testament, then why do you wash your hands before you eat? Why don't you go to use the bathroom? Don't wash your hands. Go number 2, clean yourself, and then go back to eating chips. You won't do it, right? Mm-hmm. Because you know better?
Absolutely.
So are you going to say, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm in Christ. I don't make your hands clean. Don't go to the bathroom and go double dip in my salsa. So it's like, you can't say that. You can't say, well, I'm in Christ, so my hands are holy, my hands are clean. No, you're still going to wash your hands. I hope you shower, often. Why do you do that? Since you're in Christ, see, it doesn't work. It's a slippery slope, and it doesn't work. Yeah. So we can't say, well, I shouldn't have to do this, shouldn't have to do that. Nothing's wrong with it. Matter of fact, it was very implemented very much in the Bible.
Good. Yeah, that's good. Well, okay. I'm glad I asked that.
Yeah. So
now we'll go to
the second part. Romans chapter 13, where Sharon had asked me about this, and I said, yeah, it's in Romans, and I looked it up. I'm going to read it, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Romans chapter 13, verse 1. It says, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God. And the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God. And those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Then do what is good, and you will have praise from the same.
Okay, 1 through 3?
Yeah, and then we'll keep going.
Okay. I'm reading out of the Message once again. Be a good citizen. All governments are under God. Insofar as there is peace and order, it's God's order. So live responsibly as a citizen. If you're irresponsible to the state, then you are irresponsible with God, and God will hold you responsible. Duly constituted authorities are only a threat if you're trying to get by with something. Decent citizens should have nothing to fear.
Okay, we're going to keep going. Then we'll talk about it. Verse 4. It says, for he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid. For he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Verse 5, therefore, you must be subject, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for they are God's ministers, attending continually to this very thing. Render therefore to all their due. Taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs, fear to whom fear, and honor to whom honor.
Okay, to which one?
4 to 7.
Do you want to be on good terms with government? Be a responsible citizen and you'll get on just fine. The government working to your advantage. But if you're breaking the rules right and left, watch out. The police aren't there just to be admired in their uniforms. God also has an interest in keeping order, and he uses them to do it. That's why you must live responsibly, not just to avoid punishment, but also because it's the right way to live. That's also why you pay taxes, so that an orderly way of life can be maintained. Fulfill your obligation as a citizen. Pay your taxes, pay your bills, respect your leaders.
Okay. We just read the Bible. I want to set the scenario here. The Apostle Paul wrote this to the church in Rome. You got to understand, the Roman church is like writing to the church in Washington, D.C. And he's basically telling them, I want you guys to obey your pagan emperor, your pagan Roman rulers that are over you. So don't do this whole thing. We can't do this whole thing about, well, that was a different time. They don't know how the cops are. They don't know how the corrupt this is. Yeah, he did actually. The emperor was basically almost telling, at that time, basically telling people to worship him. The religious, the religion of that time was pagan. There was pagan gods everywhere, temples everywhere. There was prostitutes that were prophetesses of these false gods. I mean, it was corrupt. But yet Paul is saying, hey, nobody's in power.
Well, people were getting thrown in prison for just believing or speaking the word. And nowadays we have that freedom to even speak, you know? We have that.
So, but yet Paul says, you know those guys that are in power? It's because God gave them power. That's a heavy scripture, you know, because what he is saying is there is no authority in this earth unless God granted that authority. That's why I have always said the only reason any president has ever walked in that Oval Office is because God allowed it. I'm 48, so there's been a lot of presidents in my lifetime. Yeah. Each one of those was because God allowed it. That does not mean that each of those were Christians. The Caesar wasn't Christian, but yet Paul is saying that Caesar, he only has authority because God allowed him to have it. So he's saying, listen,
there was something that God needed to use within them for that season, for that time, to start implementing and creating what needed to be done within this country.
Yeah. Because it's crazy because like Obama, I didn't agree with a lot of things he did. But, you know, there was some things that happened that I was glad that he was a president because he handled that so well. I'm not saying he handled everything. There are things our current president, there's some things that he just like, you know, no filter sometimes. But there are some things where I'm like, you know what? I'm glad he's there.
Yes.
And the next president, I will say the same because I understand that Paul is saying, listen, no authority can give to anybody unless God grants it.
Yeah.
You know, and that is something that we have to understand. So if there's a lockdown, like I nobody's approached me about it yet, but I have a feeling some people are saying, oh, I thought house arrest was all about Jesus, this and that, but now I thought you pray and people get healed, and now you're going to have an online service? I'm like, yeah, because I'll obey the laws of the land. Yeah, because I understand the hygiene issue. Because I understand that. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, we have people have I seen healings? Heck yeah, I've seen healings. Do I plan to see more healings? Yeah, I plan to see more healings. But you know what I've also seen? Funerals.
Yeah, many. We've seen many.
That I have officiated.
Yeah.
Of Christians that love Jesus.
Yeah, and it wasn't nice, you know?
So I've seen people healed and I've seen people die. So when this is our nation, our country, I'm going to trust that God put them in power, that God put them in authority. And if they say, you know what, we want people to, stay in your homes, I'm going to obey that. I'm going to listen to that. Now, if they said you can't worship Jesus, that's a different issue. Because, at the time of Paul, you think Paul, if they would have said, hey, Paul, you got to worship Caesar.
See, but that's the thing, that nothing can ever take our worship. Nothing can ever take our praise and worship.
Yeah. But I think I've seen a few things, leaning toward like, well, are you going to obey God or man? I'm like, this has nothing to do with it. Because you might as well go down a slippery slope and say, well, God didn't put that red light, so I ain't going to stop. You know why that red light is there?
Keep going and you'll see what'll happen.
Well, that red light is there to protect.
Absolutely.
What happens when somebody goes through a red light? Somebody gets killed.
Yeah.
That's why the red light is there. Well, guess what? There's a red light right now to stay in your homes.
Well, I see, I've seen a lot of parents kind of complain about the whole schooling system and everything. And we got to understand that things are put into place. It's to protect our children. It's not because they want to make it worse for us at home, or they want to, number one, it shouldn't make anything worse in your home because they're your children. So you should want to be able to spend time with your children and want your children in your care, but it's understandable that it did put a lot of people into hardship. But at the same time, we got to remember that if things were put in place, it's to avoid because they care about the children. Yeah. They care about all of those. But I see people complaining like, seriously, now there's no school. Now we have to deal with them till this time. And they're not going to, graduate, or they're not going to do this or not going to do that. And I'm just like, they will get there. This stuff will happen. It will take place once this is all over with. But it's only going to be over with that if we respectfully
and collectively.
Yes, respectfully and collectively come together and do what is being asked, because that's all they're really doing. They're not saying, oh, you're ordered or you're going to, no, they're saying we're asking you, we're pleading to you. I seen a nurse put something up today because somebody was being very sarcastic about like, why should I have to follow this? And why should I? And she went on there and she put, I'm a nurse and I'm forced to go out there. Please take this serious because this is my family and my life too. And that sunk in because there is people out there that are really sacrificing their lives for us, for your children, for our mothers, for our grandmothers, for everybody. We get to be home with our families, praying, being together, doing all of that while they're out there risking their lives.
My daughter is graduating in 2 months after a 3-year program at the university to be a registered nurse. She's going to become a nurse in the middle of this. Yeah. So you're right.
My son-in-law is in the medical field too. Yeah. And that's, but the thing is like, I have to be out there. My oldest son works in the naval, he does engineering and everything, and they got to continue working because they got to provide a lot of the things that they need out there for what's going on. There's so much stuff that's going on right now.
So we don't want to be selfish.
No.
We want to appreciate, and the way we appreciate is just to do what we need to do as a nation.
Do our part.
And to do our part.
Yes.
I understand that it's inconvenience for your kids to be home. I understand it's a convenience. You know what's a bigger inconvenience? Have you ever seen a little coffin? That is not.
No, it's not.
That is not an easy thing. So if we wouldn't have done nothing like this and the kids would have kept going, and then what happens? Then you're mad.
You're mad because nothing was done on time.
So, guys, as believers, have grace.
Yes.
Have grace for our nation.
And let's pray.
Have grace for our leaders.
Yes.
Our president, the other people that talk, for our governors, for our local police and local hospitals and doctors. Just because we have a Facebook doesn't mean that we are all going to be experts everybody wants to be an expert now. You know what I mean? Because we looked up at a couple Google sites and everybody's an expert. You know, and don't be so critical of the churches that are doing online services. You know, as pastors, we love our families, and I'm not going to compromise anybody's health. We have young people in our church, we have elder people in our church, and I love them. We can't compromise that.
Absolutely.
And I reposted something on Facebook that basically said, church ain't closing down, just a church building.
Yeah.
You think the church building closed down stops the church? Come on. If you think the church is that building, then you got your whole theology wrong.
Yeah.
Because we are the church. That's just the building. The church continues. The gospel continues.
Yes.
Everything continues. And it's like you have no idea. We have no idea who we're helping, because it's nobody's business but God's.
Yeah.
If you're helping an elder, like the governor said, make sure you call 5 people a day. I love that he said that.
I love that he said that too.
He was call 5 people a day. The older people, your older neighbors in your neighborhood. Is there elderly in your neighbors that are afraid to go out? Go and ask them and say, hey, is there anything I can get you?
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've seen people that I know that have been very, and I love for them to even say, listen, do you know anybody that may need this, or do you know anybody who may need something? And that's important, because we do got to take care of those who cannot, like a lot of the grandchildren in my family have been calling my mom, and telling her, grandma, don't go anywhere. If you need anything, make sure that, that you call one of us and we'll go out and we'll get it for you. Today, I was telling David, it was really nice because I kind of started like a whole group chat with my family from SoCal, with all of them. And we had so much laughter on there. We communicated, we laughed, we said jokes. But in all seriousness, at the end of the conversation tonight, everybody's like, hey, we love you. We love you too. And that was the thing that I hadn't talked to one of my sisters in quite some time. So it's rare that I talk to her as often as I did today, and had all my kids on there and everything. But you know how good I felt? And then to to put that down and call my mom. And my mom was so filled with joy that she had all her kids on there talking, her grandkids on there. And she was like, I was just laughing at you guys, and she goes, it makes me feel so good that I can just see you guys all in the midst of all of this come together and love each other that way.
Because you got to understand, we're very close to the Bay Area. San Francisco, Oakland, the whole Bay Area is very fast life.
Yeah.
Even here, like, to me, Stockton is a lot slower than the Bay Area. But I've had family come from Texas, and they're like, you guys live so fast. But I've always, many times when I used to work Uber and Lyft, I'd be in the Bay Area driving, and I'm just like, man, life is so fast. Nobody has time for nothing. I said, it would be crazy if everything would just pause. And I'm just like, that'll never happen. That'll never happen, And I thought that the other day. I'm like, oh my God.
It paused.
Everything is paused.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, even what was funny.
And it happened overnight.
And what was funny is a huge podcaster, Joe Rogan, what I was thinking, he said it. He says, life is so fast and everything paused. People just needed to stop.
Yeah.
He goes, and it's crazy because I don't remember verbatim how he said it, but he goes, it's almost like this virus is letting people see how fast we were going.
Yeah.
He goes, there was no more time for family, no more time to talk, no more time. He goes, everything was fast, planes and cars and Uber and clubs and events. And he goes, he goes, America needed this.
Yes.
So you can look at something as a curse, or you can look at it as a blessing.
As a blessing. In disguise,
Exactly. Use this time wisely. And another thing too, and it's already 34 minutes, but I have said it a lot of times, I'm going to say it again, that during my incarceration, the time I hated the most was solitary, but the time I grew the most now, looking back, was solitary. It was during that time of lockdown that I was able to grow in the Lord. I was able to grow roots. So a lot of you that your life has been so fast, now's the time. Grow your roots. Let those things go deep. If you don't have to go to work, now you don't have to do a 5-minute prayer. Now you can really get into prayer. Now you can really get into worship. Now you can really just play some music. There's no hurry. You don't have to go to Denny's. You don't have to go here. You don't have to go there. You know, and it's like, now is the time, guys, because trust me, life is fast. It's going to be fast again. You might never get this chance again.
Yes.
Use this time for you. Don't let this time do you. You do this time. You know, and use this time right now and say, you know what? I'm not going to allow this virus to take my life away. I'm going to take control of my life, and I'm going to get something from this.
Amen.
If you got to write a book, you got to do a painting. If you got to write some songs, do music, whatever it is you need to do, find a college course, correspondence, Bible colleges, if you know, things like that. Whatever it is you want to do it.
You know, I sent, when did we send it out? A few days ago, we sent a little Bible to my grandson.
Oh, yeah.
I sent him a little Bible that was age appropriate for him. He's 7 years old and he loves to pray. So I sent him a little Bible. I had his little name engraved on it. And then I sent him a little devotional, and he received it today. And it was one of the first things that he did with his mom was to do a devotional with her. And he was so happy. They thought it was the coolest little Bible ever. And my daughter's like, Mom, do you think you can, you know, maybe you can do little Bible studies with him now, you know, and everything. And I'm like, you know what? That's such a good idea right now that I'm home. I think I am going to sit down and do little Bible studies with him, or just, you know, call him and be like, okay, so what did you read today? What did your devotional? And be able to share that with him. Another thing, you know, that my heart is telling me as well, if you're somebody out there, you know, that is elderly, cannot get out, cannot get a Bible, or somebody does not have a Bible, let me know. Maybe I can send you a Bible, you know, a New King James Version Bible. I did have somebody that blessed us with a few Bibles. If this is the time and you don't have that New King James Version Bible or just a Bible, you know, please let me know. I don't have a lot to go around, but at least I know that maybe I can get a few, as long as we can get to the post office, maybe we can get a few out. But if you're somebody that knows that you can't go out, you're compromised and you're not able to go look for one, we'll send one to you, okay? Because we definitely want you to be able to do these videos with us, look through the scripture with us, and be able to read along with what we're reading. And I think it's a good time and a good opportunity for you guys to grow. Like David said, that his best time was in solitary. And I believe that because it's the time when you can really organize, think, you can do everything. So many things in your life you can do with time, something that we no longer have a hold on. And now we have time to do it. So let's do it. Let's grow together.
It was funny. Yesterday, I started sweeping, and Sharon's like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm programming.
Yeah, I was like, what? You know, I was surprised.
in solitary, you have to program. I did a video explaining this whole thing. If you go a few videos back to coping, it's called coping or something, advice from solitary confinement, is because you have to program. You got to fill up your day. If not, you're just going to watch news and get all depressed. Yeah. So you got to fill up your day. And so as soon as this kind of lockdown did...
Yeah, did a few things already.
Yeah. In my head, I'm just like, click, I'm in lockdown mode. You know what I mean? And so that's the day they sent you home. Yeah. So I didn't know she was coming home. And she comes home and I'm sweeping. And she's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm programming. You know, because I'm filling up my day with things I'm doing. I'm getting some paintings finished. I'm doing things, accomplishing things. And
not me. I've been kind of resting, guys.
Because I'm programming. You know, I'm in program mode, you know. And so anyways, guys, we're already at 39 minutes. God bless you.
Yeah, but they like the long videos, so it's okay.
Yeah. Probably I'm looking to do a live during the day since a lot of people are home. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll
maybe
see.
tomorrow. I think we normally don't do one for Friday for Saturday, but who knows? Maybe I think it'll be nice for us to get on live with you guys.
Unless we wait for Saturday because we know everybody's home.
We can do Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, we want to be live. That way we can talk with you guys, and we're looking forward to that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So remember, we love you guys, and I definitely miss the presence of everybody.
Yeah.
But I know that this is good for all of us, so that we can, just do what we're being asked to do.
What's a good time that we could go live? That's a question I'm asking, but let me know where you're from because that could fluctuate.
I think tomorrow night.
Well, I don't know. You guys let us know.
We have people out of state too.
Yeah, we have people out of state, so that's 3 hours ahead on the East Coast. So our 5 o'clock would be 8. So you gotta throw some numbers out there and let us try to figure it out. Or if Friday or Saturdays are better, or let us know what you think. Let us hear, guys, because we want to go live and we want to talk with you guys and just socialize.
Yes. We'll be social butterflies, not you, me.
Ain't no butterfly.
I'm saying me. I caught myself after I said it, so calm down.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys. We love you.